So the Rani's back. The Doctor Who episode, the Interstellar Song Contest, saw the recurring Mrs. Flood character revealed as an incarnation of the Time Lord, the Rani, a character not seen on our screen since 1993's Children in Need Special Dimensions in Time. But if you're wondering who the Rani is, what's her history of the Doctor, and what other run-ins she's had with them over the years, this is the video for you, because I'm going to dive into all of that across all mediums. We're talking comics, we're talking audios, we're talking TV stories, we're talking everything. So buckle in. Welcome to Culture Filter, I'm Phil, and this is everything you need to know about the Rani. It's not known for certain if the Rani is her original name or a title taken on like the Doctor. There are conflicting accounts, although it is likely that it is a title. Indeed, the 15th Doctor said as much in Season 1.
They'd use titles like the Doctor or the Bishop or the Rani.
However, the novel Divided Loyalties gives her true name as Eustace, but what is known is that she did attend the Academy on Gallifrey at the same time as the Doctor and the Master. By some expanded universe accounts, the three of them, along with 7 other Time Lords, were part of a group calling themselves the Decker, a rebellious group who believed that they could change the universe. 6 of that group would go on to become renegade Time Lords, including the Doctor, the Master, the Rani, and the meddling monk, aka Mortibus. The Rani was primarily a scientist, but one with few, if any, morals, completing her experiments no matter what the cost was to others. She was exiled from Gallifrey after an experiment turned mice-like creatures into vicious monsters, which ended up eating the president's cat. That was probably likely the last straw in a long line of experiments gone wrong. It is unknown how many regenerations the Rani has had, with some accounts indicating that she is still in her first incarnation by the time she encounters the Doctor again in the TV story The Mark of the Rani, but others suggesting she might have regenerated at least once since leaving Gallifrey. After leaving Gallifrey, she takes over the planet Miasamia Goria, ruling it and performing experiments on the natives' brains to make them more intelligent and increase their awareness. But it also made them restless and likely to rebel. So she travelled to Earth at various points in its history to experiment on humans and extract the chemical from their brain that produced sleep, hoping that this would calm her subjects. It was during these experiments in 19th century England that she ran into her old classmate the Doctor in his 6th, at least as far as he knew, incarnation, and his companion Perry. These are the events of the TV story Mark of the Rani. Also there was the Master, who she teamed up with in a kind of alliance against the Doctor. But it wasn't really a friendly one, they were both kind of stabbing each other at the back at various points during the story, but that's pretty typical for both of them. During the adventure, the Doctor sabotages the Rani's TARDIS navigation system, and when she and the Master try to flee it at the end of the story, their erratic movements within the vortex cause a vial containing one of the Rani's experiments to fall and smash, releasing a dinosaur which begins to grow to full size in her TARDIS control room. According to the novel State of Change, the Rani next encounters the 6th Doctor and Perry in ancient Egypt and offers an explanation for how she got out of the dinosaur situation. Apparently, the dinosaur grew so big it snapped its neck on the ceiling of the console room and died. Can't imagine it was fun disposing of the body. Now here in the Rani's timeline, it's possible she also encountered the 10th Doctor, as seen in the backup comic strips from Titan Comics Year 3 comics. This would be an instance of the 10th Doctor kind of crossing back over with Gallifreyan history and events from before the Time War. It's not completely unheard of even in the TV show itself, as the 13th Doctor also meets a previous incarnation of herself, the Fugitive Doctor, and other Gallifreyans, Get and her team, from before her own time and before the Time War in the episode Fugitive of the Jadoon. So it can happen. It was back to television for their next adventure in The Time and the Rani, where she attacks and boards the TARDIS, only to find the Doctor regenerating into the 7th Doctor, whom she abducts.
Leave the girl. It's the man I want.
She injects the Doctor with a substance to give him a kind of post-regeneration amnesia, and then pretends to be his companion Mel Bush, so that when he wakes up, she can manipulate him into helping her with her experiment to control an asteroid made of strange matter. She also intends on adding the Doctor's intellect to the brain, a kind of computer collecting the minds of the greatest thinkers of the galaxy. The Rani's ultimate plan is to combine the strange matter with the brain on impact, forming a time manipulator, which she would then use to control the course of randomness of evolution throughout the universe. In this story, the Rani has been using the Tetrap species as servants, but she plans on leaving them to die on the planet, something that one of her servants overhears and, understandably, is not particularly happy about it. That servant then sacrifices himself to destroy the brain, and the rest of the Tetraps capture the Rani and escort her off-world. Now, the way that character rights worked in classic Doctor Who meant that Pip and Jane Baker, the writers of Mark of the Rani, retained the copyright to the character, and therefore were able to continue her story outside of official BBC stories, and without the BBC's permission. One such story is the audio The Rani Reaps the Whirlwind for BBV Productions, and it sees the Tetrap put the Rani on trial following the events of Time and the Rani, and sentence her to death unless she helps them solve their food supply issue on their planet, their food being blood. The Rani once again encounters the Sixth Doctor and Perry on the Las Vegas-based planet Katuria in the short story Something Borrowed. The Doctor arrives to attend a wedding of the son of a friend of his, and it turns out that the son is marrying the Rani, who has been doing experiments on that species to study their own transformative powers. They too are a species that can change their whole body and faces into a new form, kind of like the Time Lords. But they can only do it once, and not on death, but on their wedding day. The process seems to be initiated by the true love the couple feel towards one another. The Rani plans to study the DNA to give her more control over her own regenerations, and therefore is going to marry one of them to initiate the process to get a more direct sample. But because she doesn't truly love him, it doesn't work and he doesn't transform. The last time the Rani was seen on TV was the 1993 Children in Need special Dimensions in Time, an EastEnders crossover of questionable canonicity. But I'm an everything counts kind of guy, so I say Dimensions in Time is canon. We'll make it work somehow. Here, she's assembling a menagerie of all the sentient species of the universe and needs to collect a human for it. To prevent the Doctor stopping her, she traps him in a 20-year time loop in the East End of London. Initially, it's the Seventh Doctor and Ace, but as well as skipping around in time, both the Doctor and companion keep swapping out for previous Doctors and other companions. At various points, the Doctor becomes the Third Doctor, Fifth Doctor and Sixth Doctor, and Ace swaps out for Mel, Susan, the Brigadier, Sarah Jane, Romana, probably some others I'm forgetting, let me know in the comments. Of course, they defeat the Rani with the help of the EastEnders cast, and the Doctor turns the Rani's own time tunnel trap against her and propels her TARDIS into it. At some point though, I guess she escapes and regenerates. This new incarnation encounters the Sixth Doctor and Perry once again, while posing as Professor Baxton at the College of Advanced Galactic Education, although she had been expecting the Seventh Doctor. Here she was using her role in the university to find students suitable for being test subjects in her experiments to use their minds to calculate the minor events she would need to change in order to create bigger events that she wanted to bring to fruition. Once stopped, she was sent to the Tekora Penitentiary Prison for 97 years, but eventually manipulated her way to become the governor of the prison. The governor?
Oh, I'm the governor. And it's your lucky day.
Which makes Mrs. Flood's bit at the end of Lucky Day one of the many clues to her true identity, although I didn't spot it, and I didn't see anybody else that did. Anyway, while the governor in this story, she uses the temporal energy of the minds of the prisoners to create a portal back to the world she once ruled, Miasamia Goria. I think I'm pronouncing that right. Where apparently one of her previous experiments had been to try and create a race of gods that she would have control over. Wonder if that's relevant to any imminent episodes at the time of recording. She is, however, eventually captured and put on trial by the people she once ruled, and after refusing the Doctor's offer to take her back to Gallifrey, manages to escape in her TARDIS. Now, in an aborted timeline, the Rani was killed by Faction Paradox member Father Kreener during the War in Heaven against the Time Lords. a plot point in the 8th Doctor Adventures novel, which is far too complicated to go into here. But I wanted to mention it because of the fact that he had her head mounted on a wall, which is creepy, but yeah, kind of needed to mention that. Somewhere in some timeline, the Rani's head is mounted on a wall. But back in the Prime timeline, she survived the Time War against the Daleks and the Master's genocide against the Time Lords, and eventually found herself implementing her new plan on Earth in the guise, first of all, of Mrs. Flood, next door neighbour to the 15th Doctor companion Ruby Sunday. And when the 15th Doctor got a new companion, Belinda, the Mrs. Flood incarnation of the Rani was seen observing him across his attempts to get Belinda home, staying out of sight and paying particular attention to his use of the Vindicator. When the Hellion Kid, a survivor of genocide, attacks the Interstellar Song Contest and blows the roof of the contest, the Rani is there watching it, observing the Doctor, and gets sucked into space along with most of the audience. While she's in space, apparently her twin brainstems get damaged, which causes her, once rescued, to begin to regenerate. But she doesn't just regenerate, she bigenerates. And a new incarnation of the Rani emerges alongside the Mrs. Flood version. And we're going to have to leave it there, partly because my voice is going, but also because at the time of making this video, the plan has yet to come to fruition. But at least you're up to date on the Rani story so far. What is her plan? I guess we'll find out this week. Thanks for watching, and why not check out this other Season 2 video by clicking on screen now.